retired naval commander sold the only home he owned in Agra, moved his family to Noida, and waited for the keys to a brand new flat. He waited because a smiling cricket captain, the most trusted face in India, stood on a giant billboard above the site, vouching that it would be built. More than 40,000 families made the same bet. They handed over their savings, in many cases, everything they had. Years later, the tower stood empty. The money was gone, and the Supreme Court would call it one of the biggest housing frauds India had ever seen. This is the story of what that promise was really worth, and of the trusted face printed on the billboard above it. In the booming suburbs of Delhi in the 2000s, middle-class India was told that owning a home was finally within reach. The man selling that dream was Anil Kumar Sharma, an engineer turned builder, hailed as the poster boy of affordable housing. His first project in 2003 was just 107 flats. Then came the explosion, tower after tower across Noida and Greater Noida. Exotica, Zodiac, Silicon City. Around 25 projects delivered, 50 more rising. Sharma became president of the region's Builders Association. And on the hoardings above it all was the face that sold the trust. From around 2009, the brand ambassador of Amrapali was the captain of India's cricket team, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. A man who, on the field, almost never seemed to lose. To a young family, his face on that billboard felt as good as a guarantee. It was a near-perfect machine for turning trust into money, and more than 40,000 families were about to feed it their life savings. Zoom in from the billboards to the kitchen tables, the school teacher, the retired officer, the single parent booking a two-bedroom future. More than 40,000 families booked flats, paying anywhere from 40 to 100% of the price up front before a single brick was laid. Many were drawn in by a clever promise: no EMI until you get possession. The bank would pay the builder now, and you would only start repaying once you had your keys.
One buyer, Indresh Gupta, put it simply: people like us have paid 90% of the money, but we have not got our homes.
They booked in 2011 expecting keys in 2 or 3 years. Then the cranes stopped turning and the waiting began. Where had the money gone? Years later, a forensic audit ordered by the Supreme Court would trace it, and what it found was staggering. The homebuyers' money had been pumped out of the projects and into a maze of companies. The auditors identified more than 150 firms. Around 100 of them used to move the cash. Some were dummy firms, registered in the names of the company's own office boys and drivers. The court was stunned to find one office boy holding 140 crore rupees. There were inflated fees, and, by the forensic count, around 837 crore rupees in bogus bills. Flats were undervalued on paper, with cash taken on the side. And then there was the endorsement money. Here we have to be precise, because this is where a famous name enters the story.
Court-appointed auditors told the Supreme Court that Amrapali had paid about 42 crore rupees to Dhoni's management company, Riti Sports, under deals the auditors called sham, and recommended the money be recovered from that company.
But the record is just as clear on this. MS Dhoni was never accused of the fraud. The court made no finding against him. He was the face on the billboard, not a party to the case. In fact, Dhoni would later go to court himself, saying that Amrapali owed money to him. While the money moved, the building stopped. Across the suburbs stood the physical evidence: concrete skeletons, rusting steel, empty towers where 40,000 homes should have been. And the families were caught in a vice. Possession never came, but the banks still wanted their money. Thousands paid a home loan and rent at the same time for years.
A retired Navy commander, Sanjeev Gupta, said, "I sold my property in Agra to relocate to Noida. Now I am forced to live in a rented flat." Another buyer, Nitin Srivastava: "The builder may be out of his legal troubles in a few years, but people like us have lost our entire life savings."
They marched. They went on hunger strikes, and still the keys did not come. Then on the 23rd of July 2019, the Supreme Court of India delivered its verdict, and it was a reckoning. The court called it a serious fraud on the homebuyers. It canceled Amrapali's registration in its land leases and put the buyers' claims ahead of the banks and the authorities.
It did not spare the system. Bankers, authorities in connivance, and the builders, it wrote, cannot be permitted to take away innocent homebuyers' money without being accountable.
It found officials had acted in collusion, and the banks had been, in its words, a mute spectator. The state-owned NBCC was ordered to take over and finish the towers.
As for Dhoni, the judgment named him only as the former brand ambassador. It issued no direction against him and made no finding of guilt. Some homebuyers filed complaints seeking to add him as an accused, but no court has charged him.
For the men who ran Amrapali, the reckoning was physical. The founder, Anil Sharma, and 2 directors were arrested, some taken straight from the courtroom. Their personal properties were attached. The agencies moved in. The Enforcement Directorate, the fraud investigators, the police. Sharma would spend more than 4 years in jail, repeatedly denied bail. The court's message was blunt. There could be no sympathy for those found to have cheated thousands of homebuyers. NBCC inherited the graveyard of towers, the slow, expensive work of finishing someone else's broken promise. The court even shielded the buyers. Banks were barred from wrecking their credit scores or marking their loans as bad over homes they had paid for but never received. And in a final twist, even Dhoni's own case, chasing the money he says he is owed, was put on hold. Everyone would wait until the homebuyers came first. So where does it stand today? Slowly, the towers are being finished. By early 2025, NBCC had completed around 25,000 flats, and thousands of families had finally been handed their keys. But the ledger is not closed. Tens of thousands are still waiting for lifts that work, for societies that are actually finished, for the home they paid for over a decade ago. Some are still protesting in 2025. The retired commander is still renting. A decade and more of their lives does not come back with a key. The fraud is proven, the towers are rising, but the question the whole story asks is this: what did all that money actually buy? Here is what it bought. More than 40,000 families handed over their savings, and in return, they got hoardings, ad campaigns, and the most trusted smile in the country vouching for a dream. The money bought marketing, it bought a celebrity's face, it bought a beautifully printed promise. What it did not buy, for years and for many still, was a home. The cash flowed into a maze of companies while the towers stood empty. The Supreme Court itself called it a serious fraud on the people who could least afford it. And the man whose face sold the dream was never accused of the fraud. He went to court saying he had been cheated too, which is the quiet, brutal lesson of this whole story. A trusted face can sell you almost anything, even a home that was never going to be built. Being the face is not the same as being the fraud. Because this is what money buys. It bought the promise. It bought the smile above it. It never on its own bought the house. There is always another launch, another glossy promise, another impossible dream sold at scale, and another reminder that money can buy almost everything except the thing you were actually promised. New stories every week on What Money Buys.